Welcome to the Lifestyle Chase. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. Proudly hosted by me, Chris Little. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to episode 8 of the Lifestyle Chase. Here today, I have Mr. Shane Fennessey. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Chris. Happy to be on your show, finally. It only took 7 people before me for you to ask, so here we are.
I wanted to stagger it out. I got to guest on yours, and that kind of gave me some exposure. And I was like, okay, I'm going to space it out. I will ask him, but I want to have some different guests so that they know it's not just Shane and Chris going back and forth interviewing each other.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. I have to say thank you for having me on because it's giving me an opportunity to reverse roles and see what it's like as a guest on someone's, which should hopefully help me improve my experience for my guests on my podcast.
I think so too. How's your morning going so far?
It's pretty good. I got to the gym this morning, got caught up on a bunch of work that I've been putting off for the last week, and had a good meal and just getting my head right and in the game here.
What kind of food does a guy like you eat in the morning?
My diet and my schedule of eating is so all over the place. Today I had steak and eggs. I usually try and get in a pretty hearty breakfast, but I also do intermittent fasting. So my first meal usually won't be until 11 or noon. And it just depends what the rest of my day looks like.
That's fair. Did you find that your lifestyle pushed you into intermittent fasting, or you made a strategy to do it purposefully?
No, I decided to do it. Well, first of all, I like just testing different things. So different diets or different workout routines. I always kind of like tweaking. I tried to do keto last year. So in preparation of going full keto, I reduced my carb intake slowly over the course of a week. And when I was eating no carbs, I was grumpy and frustrated. And I thought I feel great anyway eating a normal diet. So what's the point in me trying to screw with this and go keto? If I ever have a problem or if I ever need to change things up, then maybe I'll try it. But no, the reason I decided to try intermittent fasting is because I was doing the cover of YG Fitness. So I needed a diet that was going to help me, or a way of eating that was going to help me kind of cut off those last few pounds of fat, really trim down as much as I could. So I thought, hey, people seem to be getting good results with this, and it seems to not only for weight management, but for longevity, immunity boosting, and all sorts of other health benefits. So I started doing that about 4 months ago, and haven't looked back. And now it's just part of the life, right? You enjoy it.
Completely. Mm-hmm. How much of a lead before the cover shoot did you have to prepare your body for the cover?
I think I started seriously prepping a month and a half before.
Okay.
Focusing really on the diet, definitely focused on the structure of eating more so than reducing calories, because I have a problem reducing calories. I enjoy eating a calorie surplus. And then working out, I guess I would have just done my normal routine, but just pushed it a little harder, a couple extra sets or a couple extra reps, a little bit more weight, just to see what I could really do. Because I knew that this was, my only opportunity to do something like this before I turned 30. So I may as well put all my energy into it and see how far I can get in that time.
Makes sense to me. So something really exciting happened for you on Wednesday. Tell our audience what that day felt like, what it was all about, what happened, how it unfolded, and how you felt when you went to bed that night.
Well, I don't really fuck with medicinal or marijuana of any kind, so Wednesday was just a normal day for me.
Your movie premiere, man.
That's right, the movie premiere. It was a spectacular day, honestly. It couldn't have gone any better. I think everyone, all 2,600 plus people that were there, really enjoyed themselves. It, for me, was the most special out of our 3 premieres, because we had previously premiered in Toronto during TIFF, and then as the closing gala film at the Calgary International Film Festival. And each one was a little bit different. Toronto was special because it was the first one, and it was in a big city. There was tons of press around it, and we also kind of were wrapped up in the whole film festival thing. Calgary was really special, first and foremost because I flew my mom out from Vancouver, so she was my date on the red carpet for that. But also they organized that the film festival took care of everything. So they took care of the logistics and the media, and we just had to dress up, show up, and speak up. And that's basically it. But Edmonton was really the homecoming. So bringing it back here to where the film truly belongs, where Grant is from, and it was, honestly, all expectations from mine were blown out of the water. Like, the Oilers were our partner in it, having it at Rogers Place, and they really, like, they stepped it up, like, for sure. Like, Adam and I joke, so my producer of the film, he and I went into the first meeting with them thinking that, all right, we're gonna try and we're gonna be firm in our negotiations. We're gonna not let them take advantage of us. We're gonna, like, get what we want out of this. And they had this whole PowerPoint presentation and all the details already thought out. And by the end of it, we're just like, can we come? Can we come to this thing too? Like we went in and it was just a complete 180 from what we were expecting. And it was just the best that it could have been.
How did you feel when you went to bed?
Well, we celebrated that night, so I wasn't feeling very much when I went to bed.
Just numb.
Yeah, but
that's fair.
One of the few cool moments for me from that night. One was right when the film was ending, right before we went on stage with myself, Adam Scorgi, Don Metz, Grant Fuhrer, and then our hot stove panel of Craig Simpson, Craig McTavish, and Kevin Lowe. My dad. We were all sitting in the green room underneath the bleachers. And we all cracked a beer and kind of, like, just hung out. And we were just talking about the film and talking about Furzy. And that was a really cool moment, because when you separate yourself from the crowd, that's when you really get to, like, soak it all in. So that was a nice moment. And then also going to the after party at Bucco Epcor, fantastic spot, everyone should check out. Seeing everyone, seeing the friends, family, people I expected to come, and then people I didn't expect to come. And it was really overwhelming to have the support of all those people. And it's challenging because I was doing the hey, how are you dance, as I was sort of getting pulled in 19,000 different directions, and felt bad because I couldn't give anyone the time that they deserved. But that was a cool moment just to have everyone. And funny too, because some people would come up to me and say, hey, like, it's so cool to see what you've been working on for the past year that I've known you. And hey, you actually made a real movie. And I was like, yeah, well, when I told you I was making a movie, like, what did you think was going to be different? They're like, well, no, that was like a real full movie. So yeah, that was interesting. But it's cool now that people understand. And I think most of all, it was a great night for Grant, because he really got a standing ovation several times. He got, the respect that he deserves. And I think, I couldn't have asked for it to go any better.
That had to feel good for him, because, like, he spends a lot of time in Edmonton, doesn't he? Like, he's not someone who ventures off and spends, like, several months out of the city, is he?
Well, he doesn't live in Edmonton anymore. He lives down in Palm Springs.
Oh, okay.
So he's only back. He came back more in the last year than he usually does, because we were filming here. And he'll come back for various alumni things, but he always loves coming back, and it's cool to watch him, get the attention from the fans, because wherever he goes in any hockey bearing market, people go, hey, that's Grant Fuhrer, and people walk up to him, and he's so approachable too. So that was a fun experience to watch that happen.
That's good. That's good. It's got to feel good to have, like, a movie made about yourself, and, like, because he had to overcome some obstacles in his career, and it wasn't just a happy time kind of thing, hey?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, if it were just a happy-go-lucky career with no obstacles, it would have been a boring-ass movie. But I think so I thought about it, and I think this is how the flow of that would have gone. I think, okay, you approach someone, ask them to do a movie about them, and they're like, what, me, why? I think that would be the first reaction. Then the second reaction would be like, oh, you want to partner with me and you want to pay me and I'll get 50% of the back end? Yeah, let's do it. Like, I barely have to do anything. Just a couple interviews, talk about my life. So you'd be excited. And then as you start seeing the script and realizing what you're going to have to go through and relive those moments, then I think you become probably a little self-conscious of it. Then as you go through that process, I think, and I saw this with Grant, I think there's some serious catharsis that happens as you reconcile the events of your life and maybe things that you dealt with, but probably things that you didn't really deal with at the time either. Like we're so good at compartmentalizing things that happen. And so I think for him going through this, there was definitely some unresolved things that he was able to tackle. And after the most in-depth interview where we talked about his parents dying and we talked about the drug suspension and we talked about the panic attack, that was like everyone was emotional and breaking down. That evening when we went to film at the final game at the Coliseum, or Rexall Place, literally the last hockey game that would ever happen there, and that was the first place that he played when he was young with the Oilers. I've never seen him look so light and energetic and happy, and it was just cool to see that, like, going through the shit, like looking in the darkest places of your life can actually lead to the best results and the most positive, positivity in your life.
I like that. That's something good to take away, because everybody has like some baggage, and compartmentalize. Like, you just kind of put it in a little mental box and you put it away. Yeah. Sometimes you have to revisit it. Sometimes it helps.
Well, the saying goes like, the things we most need to find are always in the places we least want to look, right? Yeah. So that's whether that's healing, whether that's progress, whether that's something for your career that you've been putting off. It always seems like it's where you last want to pay attention to.
Just like training, like the things that most need training are the things we most hate to do.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to do bench press, all the bro stuff, but when it comes to their core strength or something, they're like, nah, I don't like that. So we're gonna segue. I need you to think back. You're at your first school dance, or at least the first like Much Music video dance.
I don't think I ever got one of those, but I remember the dances.
Did you at least have like a video screen, something to hype it up?
Not that I can recall.
What the hell, man?
I'm trying to remember what grade do you even have first dances in? Is it like 7, 8?
I think grade 7 was when like people would ramp up the real, like, play some legit music, not just the chicken dance and a little circle of love.
Some R&B, some sexy music.
Yeah, that's when they played the sexy music, is like grade 7, grade 9. After that, everybody's too cool for it. So you're there. Think of like the closest equivalent you have to it.
Yeah.
You see 6 cute girls who need a dance partner. They're just standing there. You're maybe 12, 14 years old kind of thing. What do you do?
Dude, me back then, like, almost nothing other than panic and sweat profusely. Like, that's what I would do. In all honesty, I was so not shy, but I was just so unconfident. I had no drive or motivation to do it. I just like didn't have the confidence to go up. I can probably in like maybe 5 to 6 high school dances over the course of my years, probably only dance with like 4 to 5 to 6 girls. Like if I asked a girl to dance in a night, and she said yes, that was a successful dance. Might have been there for 3 hours, and one dance I would have been super pumped. And like the thought of trying to make out with her, no go, not a chance. Like way too scared to do that. So yeah, 13, 14-year-old Shane had a lot of growing to do.
Yeah.
A lot of improvement to make.
And it's funny because like you're the son of an Oilers legend. Like there's so much, you got a lot of street cred, but you're just like everybody else. Like you're a very humble individual, and it like your upbringing would be very humble. What would you say about your childhood that made you who you are today?
Well, I mean, my dad being who he is really didn't have much of an impact on how I grew up because I didn't grow up with him.
Yeah.
I grew up with my mom out in Vancouver, so she was first and foremost the biggest reason that I am who I am. But it's funny, like I think now that I'm 30, you spend a lot more time like kind of looking back at how you grew up and analyzing, why it is the way that you are the way that you are. And that's really tough to do, like to take that introspective look and say like, okay, because you discover, okay, I maybe for me as an example, like my mom put me first over and above everything, like her needs included. So and as an only child with her, like I think I maybe have a little bit of a sense of entitlement because of that. And that's something now that I've noticed, but so noticing at this age, I discovered like, oh shit, like that's why I'm like that. But so it's like, oh, okay, there's a reason for that. That wasn't my fault. But as soon as you realize it, simultaneously, it wasn't your fault, and now going forward, it is always going to be your fault because you know and you're aware of it, and it's your responsibility to change it and improve yourself. So, I mean, That's a big question to unpack. There's so many reasons and things that happen and why we are the way we are, like a mix of biological and environmental. Environmental, raised by a single mother as an only child, and so that has things that come with it. But simultaneously, like, I got the opportunity to go spend time with my dad's family once or twice a year, and so that was kind of like, depending on what we're doing, that was kind of the rock star life, right? Whether I was going to hockey games or meeting the team, or spending time out at the lake on the boats and doing all that with all the toys. So I had a little bit of a duplicitous upbringing, and I don't know if I've reconciled that or not, but it's important not to spend too much time thinking of that and forgetting to just live your life and be your honest self.
Yeah, just living in the present kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if that made sense, but it
did make sense.
I just spout out a bunch of shit.
It's totally good, because I think some people forget that everybody kind of has that same foundation, and it's just kind of how you work with the input, and there's all kinds of factors that can factor into something, but you're like a very authentic person, and so a person hears that you're related to an Oilers legend kind of thing, and like, oh well, he must be entitled. But then they get to know you, and you're actually more humble than people who don't have those connections. Like, it's just such an interesting dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of goes to show that, like, parents and upbringing and all of that dedication that they put into their children as they raise them really does pay off.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think parents deserve a lot of credit for the consistency that they put into their child's upbringing. It's just really neat to see, like, the product of that environment. Segueing back into the film industry, before you got into it, you had other jobs, you did other things. Tell us the journey. What was it like? What were you doing?
Dude, it's been a ride. Like, I feel like I've done 1,000 things. Reality, it's probably only been 2 or 3. After university, which I took psychology, I ended up moving to Edmonton for the first time in my life, and worked for Hockey Canada for the World Junior Championships in 2012. So I was part of the organizing committee, and that was a blast because I got to coordinate 400 volunteers. And because we're great and proud and awesome Edmontonians, everyone was pumped to volunteer for this event. It was one of the most, I think, the financially most successful World Juniors ever. So that was a 9-month contract. And then after that, I got into a little bit more sporting stuff down in Calgary, working at a sport academy. So I managed 7 hockey teams down at the Edge School for Athletes. It was grades 6 to 12. I ran the facilities, so we had 2 ice rinks, 2 gyms, a turf field, dance studios, a golf simulator. So I did all the facility management there, and then managed the teams too. So did their schedules, did their equipment, their track suits, their ice times, all that kind of stuff. So, and occasionally got to go out on the ice with the kids, which was fun if we were down a coach. But I got 2 years into that. And I just sort of decided, like, I always wanted to work in hockey as a career, but I got to the point where I'm like, look, I'm spending so much time, like, behind the scenes. I'm not really getting to enjoy, like, hockey as a game. So do I really want to go down this route, or do I want to maybe get into a career that's going to pay me well enough that I can then go and afford to go to all these cool events and these big hockey games and tournaments? So I got into the transportation world, bulk goods, frac sand, cement, chemicals, and so I was an operations specialist. So that basically means I did route management, I did technology management. I was the one in charge of trying to get these, for the most part, older drivers fluent on newer technology. And that was a struggle every day because they just wanted to do things the old way. Why can't I use my paper logs where I write everything down? It's like, well, no, look, we've spent a lot of money and put these, like, high-end computers in the trucks now that are going to make your life so much easier. If you just learn how to, like, just get it started, just, like, push it down the hill, like, put it over the crest so it starts moving on its own. Like, in terms of the technology, your life will be so much easier. But people are resistant to change, right? Like, they fear falling behind. They fear trying something they're not good at, especially if they've done the same thing for so long. So that old adage of, like, just get comfortable being uncomfortable always rings true. Like no matter what age you are, if you're 20 or if you're 60, I think it's good to like always try and grow. So I did that for 2 years, and like the last job, hit that point where it was like, this isn't the right fit. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but it's not this. So I quit that, and I've been bartending part-time for a long time, so I kept doing that and just started talking to people in different industries and going for coffees, and it was amazing. Like every time I'd go for coffee with someone, I'd come out of these conversations like fucking like just buzzing, like so energetic and so excited about life, and like all these new things that I just learned about someone else and what they're doing in life and how they got to where they are. Side note, like I think that was the real inception of my podcast and wanting to do that and having these types of conversations. But then one day I was at the gym, and my buddy Mike called me up and was like, hey, I know you're looking for a new gig. Do you want to get into the film industry? I said, yeah, okay. Who wouldn't want to get in the film industry? Sounds super cool, but I don't know anything about it. And he said, look, like you've got the personality, you've got the people of the city, the Oilers, and that's who this first video that I produced was for. So yeah, I basically just like jumped into the deep end and gave it a shot, and it worked well. And one thing led to another, and kind of here we are today making feature-length films.
That's so badass. So if you look at you made it onto the cover of Yeg Fitness. You looked pretty jacked. I'd say you look more jacked than I do, and I am trying to make a go of being in fitness as a full-time thing. What's your gym routine like? When you step in the doors, what do you do? Tell our audience about your active lifestyle routine, your nutrition habits. We kind of delved into that, but just take us through a day of Shane.
Well, I'm a morning guy first and foremost, so I enjoy going to the gym in the morning. It's less busy, and it just energizes me for the whole day, and I don't feel guilty about eating whatever I eat after I've already had a good workout, right? So my routine's pretty basic for the most part. Like I split, right, and I've experimented with all sorts of different modalities and methodologies over the years, but right now I've kind of found something that's been working for me for the last 6 months to a year. So I split my days into 3 days. I've got a push day, which is basically chest and core and triceps, and then I've got a pull day, which is back, shoulders, and back and shoulders pretty much, and then leg day, my favorite day. So that's, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, and then a bunch of more, I don't know what you call them, not isolation moves, more like walking weighted lunges or isolated hack squats and things like that. And then, I rarely in the winter, I don't do a lot of cardio per se. I just lift the weights faster, maybe. But in the summer, I like to be outside, so biking a lot, doing stair sprints. I'm not like an endurance athlete kind of guy. My mind gets bored. I need to be changing things up. So when I was training for the MS bike, I have a bike and I was ripping around the city, and I think I was like, all right, well, each day is 90 kilometers. So I should do at least I should do at least 60 kilometers one day to get close to it and see what that feels like. So I got 25 or 30K in, and I was so bored that I was like, well, I don't want to stop biking. I don't want to keep biking, but I don't want to stop working out. So I biked to the stairs, ended up doing stair sprints for an hour, and then got back on the bike and did another 25 or 30K. So I was like, okay, well, that felt good. And I think that was cool cross training, and hopefully that helps my endurance.
No kidding, you animal.
Yeah.
Tell the story about your MS bike tour.
The MS bike tour it was a great opportunity to take part in something bigger than myself, which I never really thought about doing before. I'm trying to think. The guys from Jersey Lab and RVL Fitness were the ones who asked me if I wanted to do it. And I was like, yeah, sure. I like a challenge. Why not? Set my goal for, I think, $200 or $500, and I think I ended up raising over $1,000 or $2,000 rather. So that was neat, but it fell right in between days that were a little inconvenient because I had a meeting in Calgary that I had to go to on the Saturday. Saturday. So the MS bike, the way it works for people who don't know, is you Saturday morning, bright and early, like 7 a.m., you bike from Leduc to Camrose, and then you stay in Camrose for the night. And then, they have events and things there and gatherings. And then Sunday morning, you bike back to Leduc. And so I had this meeting that came up that I had to deal with in Calgary on Saturday afternoon. So in order to make that happen, I had to do a bunch of things. The steps were, all right, and I don't drive. I don't have a car. So the steps were, okay, first and foremost, find someone who's got a car. So Nicole Walsh, a lovely friend that I work with at Local, was like, yeah, you can borrow my car, sure. So step 2, get that car to Camrose the night before, Friday night, and then get back to Edmonton. Thank God my buddy Connor stepped up, and he's like, I don't have much going on that night, so I can do that for you. Step 3, leave earlier than everyone else by about an hour and a half to 2 hours out of Leduc. So that involved leaving Leduc at 5:45 a.m. to start the bike. Step 4, I'm going to lose place in my steps, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Step 4, get to Leduc, or get to Camrose. It's funny, I crossed the line before anyone else, and so everyone there was cheering, and they're on the PA system, and they're like, hey, we got the first rider in. And I was like, no, I left early. Don't cheer for me. Don't waste the good surprise or the good hello on me. And so they're like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're the first. I'm like, no, not fair. I cheated. And so I pulled into the bike garage, and they had me put my bike like way at the front. They're like, you're the first one, so you get the first spot on the railing to put your bike. And then this guy comes peeling in, and he's got the full get up. He's got like the road bike, he's got the spandex, he's got the helmet that looks like it's melting behind his head. He's got the sunglasses doing the same thing, and he like just comes peeling in and stops, and he sees me, and he's kind of it looks like his heart just sank. He's like, what? When did you pass me? And so I wanted to mess with this guy, so I go, oh, you didn't see me cruise by on that straightaway? And then he looks and sees that I've just ridden a mountain bike this 90 kilometers, and his jaw drops. I'm like, what is going on? Like, he has no idea, right? And so I let it hang in the air for a few seconds, and then eventually said, look, man, I left early. Don't worry. Like, your time is probably much quicker than mine. And he goes, how early did you leave? I said, I don't know, like 5:45. When did you leave? He's like, 7:34. I'm like, oh, well, you beat me then. Good for you.
That's funny.
So yeah, then I had to drive down to Calgary with that car from Nicole. Had my meeting for 2 hours. It went spectacularly. Met some great people and made some good connections. Then drove back to Camrose, the hour and 45 minutes, and slept like a baby that night because my legs were seizing up. And then Sunday morning had to do the bike back to Leduc, and the weather was considerably worse than Saturday. Saturday was sunny and like 15, 16 degrees, not too hot. Sunday was like raining and the wind was blowing, and honestly it was twice as hard. And not because like I was tired, it was just like the physical or the environmental effect of like rain and wind, and just like, yeah, it was shit. It was honestly very hard, but pushed through and had a good time. And then had my cousin pick me up, drive me back to Camrose to get that fucking car, and she was asking me how the bike went, and I was like so tired, I just like faded out. Like I fell asleep talking to her, like literally like mid-sentence, like just fell asleep. And so she dropped me off at the car. I got a huge ass coffee and drove back, dropped the car off, and that was my weekend. That was the MS bike.
So how long did it take you to recover from that?
I don't know. So Sunday night slept really well. Monday was like having trouble going upstairs. Tuesday felt good again. And I think I did wet legs again on Wednesday. So
nicely done. Just
yeah.
Killed it.
Yeah.
Good experience overall. Like, it's such a good cause.
Oh, it's amazing. I'll 100% do it next year.
That's good.
I already pre-registered. I'm just gonna reach out to see if I can borrow someone's road bike next time.
Yeah.
A little easier than a mountain bike.
Well, like, I had thought about going, and then just the way things worked out, I had to work that weekend. It was just timing and everything, and I was like, well, if I did it, would I use a mountain bike? Would I rent like a road bike? What would I do?
Lots of people are on mountain bikes, but depends how hard you want to push yourself, right? Like some people just do it at a casual pace, but like for me, there's not really such a thing as a casual pace. If I'm next to someone, if someone's ahead of me, I'm always just trying to push a little bit faster and a little bit harder. So yeah, I'll definitely be more competitive next year though with a real bike.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you bump into Mountain Mike there?
No, we actually didn't run into each other at all because I left early and then I was gone. I left Camrose by the time he got there, and then he left earlier than us on the Sunday, got there super quick, and he was gone. So we were on the same team, but I didn't even see the guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I imagine the two of you, if you were next to each other, you would at least egg each other on. Like, you're both, like, he's a pretty fit guy, but you're also a pretty fit guy. I don't know who would win. Like, if I had to bet, I might put my money on him. But
Dude, he would crush me. Michael Dietrich would absolutely
He's an animal.
Wipe the floor with me because he trains his ass off on that road bike. Like he goes between Jasper and Banff. Like he's out there all the time. Like my life just it's not as big a priority for me. So.
But have you ever seen the movie Rudy?
No.
It's like a football movie with the underdog.
Yeah.
Guy from Lord of the Rings. I
okay.
mean, you're my Rudy. So I'm gonna root for you.
I don't know. Like if I trained for long enough leading up to it and really put my mind to it, I maybe would be able to make a go out of it. Like maybe because I have a ridiculous competitiveness, but also like as long as I think I can win. Like if I know I've got no chance, then it's just kind of like, all right, I understand where we are. But if I think I've got a chance, then it kicks in and then it's overdrive.
Just visualizing that meme right now. So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling me there's a chance.
But just full disclosure, Michael Dietrich is an animal, very, very fit, just in case anybody mishears it and thinks that I'm out of my mind. Next question. What is the toughest thing you've ever encountered, either in life or in your career? If it ever happened again, what lessons did you learn in that experience, and how would those lessons help you kick ass and take names the second time through?
I think on a macro level, the toughest thing that personally I've ever had to overcome is like, and we touched on this earlier, is the internal analysis of yourself, of looking in and saying like, okay, what are my weaknesses? Like, what am I not good at? What have I been avoiding doing that I most need to do? And a part of that too is like, why am I the way that I am? And like, what deficiencies can I identify, and how do I make those better? I mean, like the most challenging thing for me, and I think it is probably true for a lot of people, but is trying to eliminate the words "it's not my fault" from my vocabulary. And give praise, take blame, like really truly be someone that is 100% accountable and take ownership of everything. In terms of a specific example, I would say just, bouncing around kind of career to career has been challenging because, it's especially later in your 20s, it's like, oh, like you just changed jobs again. Like, oh, what is it that you're looking for? And when you don't have that answer, it's really hard to justify leaving a really good job to search for something that you're really not sure what that is. Like when I left the transportation job, like I had an unreal career trajectory, like could have been making, 6 figures in 5 to 10 years. And so then you get the judgment from people of like, well, maybe you just needed to try a little harder at it, or maybe you just need to stick it out a little bit longer. But it's like, look, if you're not happy, it's not about the goal, it's about the day-to-day. So if the day-to-day is making you unhappy and affecting you in all other realms of your life negatively, then it's just not worth it. Like, unless the end goal is so much over and above what the struggles of the journey is. I don't know. But I mean, for me, it's been a challenge to find something that I enjoy day to day and that affords me the lifestyle and the flexibility to do the things that I want to do. But now that I found it, like, there's no going back. Like, I could never work in an office now. Like, are you kidding me? But then there's people that look at what I do or what you do and say, like, then they work in an office. So, like, how do you keep yourself disciplined? How do you keep yourself motivated? Like, I have to be, the only way I can work is because I'm in the office. And it's like, well, you might think that. Maybe ignorance is bliss in that circumstance. But like when I left the transportation job and I spent the next few months like working out when I wanted and eating when I wanted and meeting people when I wanted and working when I wanted. Like, I was like, wow, I'm really happy right now. I also stopped drinking for 9 months, so that was a big that was a big factor too. But like life seemed more vibrant and exciting, and I felt more in control and not beholden to anyone. So that was probably the biggest thing for me.
Do you ever come across like a certain personality or something that triggers you to second guess your newfound bliss kind of thing? Like somebody that buys lots of toys and flashes their money around, and it kind of makes you think of your past life, especially working in the transportation industry, or not so much? You
And like see, like get a streak of jealousy that they got something that I don't. No, like 0%. Like I see the things that I recognize the things that I'm able to now do in my life and the opportunities I've had in the last 2 years and how crazy that's been. And I'm trying not to get my head too big about it, but like I'm really proud of what I've done in the last few years. And yeah, it would be cool to have a Porsche, but like now I think, oh fuck, but gas is so expensive, and I would get speeding tickets every day, and also Edmonton's just a shit town to have a sports car in because you can't drive it for many months out of the year, and even when you can, the roads are pretty terrible. So I'm like, no, I don't really want that, and like I don't know that there's many like physical goods that I want for at this point. Yeah, I mean, no, like I see if someone has it because it's a it's an enjoyable kind of just extra, sure, but when they put stock in it and when they say like this defines me as a person, that's when I feel bad for them. And I'm like, dude, like you can be so much more than the physical things that you own in life. And like I think it's important to be, because those things won't last, but like your acceptance and your personality and how you treat people, those are the kind of things that will last.
Exactly. And I'd say I agree. Like there's a lot of instances where with my newfound lifestyle, it's so much different from working for like a company that has you start at like 8 a.m. you're done at 5 p.m. kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a busy guy, but I'm busy because I get people that want to train with me, and the way I build that up is we train when they can train, and then I make good use of the time when we're not training, and I do things like podcasts. I've put on 2 events in town, and it's something that makes me busy and pays my bills, but it's not the same as somebody that's working, say, like for a company that I used to work for, or like something similar. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to be like, well, I put in my day and now I'm going to buy this, and this is to make up for the lack of experience that I had in my day. So it's more about like what you've done rather than like what you could afford to have done kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Well, I try and firstly, I notice all the things that you do and I admire you for it. Like there's not a lot of people out there, and more people should be like you in the sense of like just do things. Like doesn't matter if they're like a smashing success or if they're kind of successful or if they're neutral, like, but the fact that you're doing things, trying, learning, failing, succeeding, like these are the important things, because A, they teach you all sorts of lessons, especially when you fail, but B, they keep up your momentum, and they continue to give you confidence of like, yeah, I've done things and I can continue doing things, because I know for me, like the momentum thing is huge. Like if I have a slow week, it's like I gotta like get going here, and I don't know how to, it's like maybe I need to go for coffee with someone and get that spark of resonance and energy going again. But
yeah, that's what I like about the podcast game. Like it's basically you're building in sort of like coffee time, except it feels productive because you're creating content. But honestly, like I know Dean and Andrew do their podcast, and it's their sneaky way of like getting cool info from industry professionals who you would otherwise have to pay to have the time of. Mm-hmm. And as I seek out guests, I think of guests that have different experiences that could help out people that I know. Mm-hmm. But from a very like selfish perspective, I know that every guest that I speak to has something that's going to be able to help me too, kind of thing. And it's a very valuable experience that I wouldn't have had I just stayed with the 8 to 5 grind kind of thing.
Yeah, no matter what you do, you've always got to have like subsidiary goals that can be accomplished through it. So even if like so with a podcast, so say your goal is to make money or sponsorship or have huge numbers, you know, or gain a following. Okay, that's fine if that's your primary goal, but like set a secondary goal too. Like my secondary goal might be I just want to spend time with cool, interesting people, or like you said, learn things from my guests myself. So that even if you don't hit your primary target, there's still other benefits that can be gleaned from the pursuit. And then just going back, because I think it's really important, and this is something I'm sure I heard somewhere, and I'm sure that I didn't make it up myself, but it's just aspire to be more, not have more. And it's, you know, like I'm mentor this younger kid, and you know, mentor is probably too strong a word, but you know, we hang out and we talk, and kind of give him my 30-year-old perspective, and he takes that as an 18-year-old kid. But you know, he didn't come from a wealthy upbringing, and he's like, man, I just want, you know, I want to be able to like, you know, have some nice clothes and buy a nice car and you know, do this shit and have money. And I'm like, why? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why do you want nice things? He's like, he didn't really have an answer. I'm like, why do you need money? And he was like, well, so I just don't have to worry about money. I'm like, yeah, but you don't need a ton of money not to worry about it. Like, you just need enough to survive and allow you to do the things you like doing. And if you happen to like find out what that is that you enjoy doing and make money from it, then you're doubling up your efficiency because you don't have to worry about spending money on doing the things you love. So I'm like, what do you want to do? He said, well, I want to own a boxing gym. I'm like, all right, well, who do you know that owns a boxing gym? And he said, his trainer. And I go, well, does your trainer have a lot of money? And he said, well, no. I go, well, there you go. If you're aspiring to be him, then like, why are you trying to get all this money along the way? Like, well, what is that good? What is that good for? And he's like, well, I just want to take care of my mom. And I'm like, I get that. And we all want to take care of our mom, especially if it's a single mom, right? But it comes to a point where like you have to be able to take care of yourself first before you can, and know that you're good and sustainable and getting all the things you need emotionally and personally before you can start branching out and taking care of other people. I mean, you see a lot of people just never get anywhere in life because they're getting drained by trying to do a million things and never focusing on what it is that they need first. Mm-hmm. So it sounds selfish, but if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not going to be able to take care of other people.
It's very true. Like, I strongly believe, especially like in an industry where part of your role is to take care of other people, you need to take care of your own shit first. Like, I mandated for myself this week that I was going to do 3 things. I was going to train some new clients. I trained one and got a new client consult, so I was pretty close there. Mm-hmm. I was going to go for ice cream at IKEA. Did it. Done.
I've heard of going for meatballs at IKEA, but never ice cream.
Man, just anything at IKEA. You walk in there with a $5 and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like, you look like a baller because you like walked away with 4 hot dogs and a pop. Maybe I'm the only one who just focuses on like hot dogs and like the shitty food there, but I mean, it's just kind of about the sentiment that you treated yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you went all out, and even if it's cheap, kind of subpar IKEA food, like, it's not the greatest, but it's not the worst.
Is that your ultimate treat, like food-wise?
To go to IKEA?
Yeah. No, okay, so what's your, like, and, like, it might be sweets, it might be savory, like, what's your, like, ultimate, like, fuck it, I'm doing it?
If I am, like, wow, I really deserve something nice, I really like to go to brew pubs kind of thing. Like, mm-hmm. if there's a pub that has the microbrewery inside and they have good food, mm-hmm. or even if it's a place that just has like a big selection of beer and good food, because I consider myself a bit of a beer connoisseur.
Okay.
And so I don't go to it for like the alcohol, it's more for like the appreciation of the process that goes into it.
Yeah.
And so that's something that's special to me. Like, if I'm ever going like on a holiday or something and that region has a brewery, I'll try and line it up so I can check out the brewery.
Right.
I tried doing my own beer brew once, and I think I couldn't decide if I was just too picky about the taste or if I let it sit too long after the brew was good or what I did. But like, I had tried a glass of what I created and I was like, this tastes fairly reasonable, but then it just sat for a while and then I think it went bad. But like, I have dabbled in the art of making beer, and it is quite the experience. Like, you have to be, it's it's kind of like an analogy of life.
Yeah.
Like you have to put a lot of care into it. The timing doesn't always line up. Like all these different things, you have to. It's an art. It's really easy to mess it up. You can learn from it and try again, kind of thing. But I also know some people that are really good at it. Most of the people that I know of that are good at it now actually have like a small scale or larger scale like microbrewery. Mm-hmm. But it's neat.
Yeah, I admire that you trying that, because like that's something I wouldn't have the time or the patience for. I'm just like, no. Like beer is I like beer, but it's funny actually. Like after stopping drinking for a while, I've now discovered I'm like incredibly picky about beer, and I don't really know what beer I enjoy anymore. Like I couldn't pick a favorite beer because I'll think I've got a good pick, and then I'll kind of be disappointed by it.
There's a lot of people out there that really hate IPAs. They hate the hoppy beers. What's your stance on that?
I can't stand them. And I wish I liked them, because there's so many cool sounding flavors and there's so many interesting mixtures now.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
They name IPAs with like the weirdest name. And I would like to try that.
Yeah.
And then they have half and they're, Chris, you like IPAs? I'm like, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you get the cleanup job.
What's your favorite brewery in Western Canada? Do you have one that stands out?
Probably Alley Cat, just because I'm the most familiar with them, and I do really like some of their stuff. They had a pumpkin pie.
I had that,
which is pretty good actually. That's the last one I drank where I'm like, hey, this is pretty solid. Blanche de Chambly's pretty good. These are Eastern breweries, so Unibrew. I like most of their stuff, but I don't know, just not much of a beer guy these days.
That's fair. So, segueing, that was actually really convenient. We both have experience working in the bar while other people play. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen when bartending? Who is your favorite person you've ever made a drink for? Those are my two questions for you from your experience in the bar.
I'm trying to think the craziest thing I've ever seen bartending. Like, nothing particularly stands out. There's been lots of fights. There's been, girls dancing on bars, guys dancing on bars, Coyote Ugly style. Back in the day when I started, we used to drink while working behind the bar. So, we were probably the spectacle behind there. But, because I've never really worked in clubs. It's only been like bar restaurants, so like local, and so nothing really stands out. Who do I like bartending for the most? Was that the question?
Who has stood out? Like,
who stood out?
Like if you had one that was like, wow, seeing that person really made my shift, kind of thing.
I serve some pretty cool people, but mostly when they're out at the bar, they get attacked by people on the other side of the bar if they're famous. So like Gordie Howe came into Kaylee's one time, like 7 years ago, and he was awesome. Like he was just super humble and very just down to earth and chill. Cole Swindell, I have a funny story about him. He was touring with Luke Bryan. He was the opening act. Yeah,
I listened to that episode of your podcast just before coming here.
Yeah, so Luke Bryan was the big deal. And so he came, snuck up on the other side of the bar and asked for a wheat beer. And I couldn't understand him. I'm like, oh, what? He's like, a wheat beer. I'm like, oh, wheat beer. Oh, yeah, we got a shock top. I'll pour that for you. And then the server grabbed him and was like, I'll deal with him. Don't worry. You don't have to order from the bar. So I was like, oh, that sucks. It would have been cool to serve Luke Bryan. And I go on the other side, and there's three guys sitting there, and they're like, oh, we're with the tour. And one of them turns out to be Cole Swindell, who I actually liked more than Luke Bryan. And I didn't even know he was on the tour. So that was kind of fun. And then I have a fun one, actually. Do you know who Key and Peele are?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Key and Peele, the comedians, came in and sat at my bar one night. And none of the girls working knew who they were. And I was like, I'm pretty sure those are those comedians. And they're like, what comedians? I'm like, Key and Peele. And so I went to the back and I showed them the substitute teacher skit. And they're like, oh, yeah, those guys. With Aaron, Jay Quellen. So anyway, I'm like, you're Key and Peele. And they're like, yep. I'm like, that's cool, man. Like, you guys are hilarious. And I'm like, thanks so much. And they were fun. They were joking around. And then they started drinking they started drinking Black Bush, which is a type of whiskey. And so they, of course, had fun with that name. They're like, get us some Black Bush, Shane. And the girls I used to work with were just ruthless. So a couple of them got on either side and were chatting them up. And then they basically like said, like, hey, like, can we come back to your hotel room? And the guys like froze and they're like, we're both happily married, and like pointed to their rings, because these guys thought they were just having fun and being, you know, friendly with these people. And meanwhile, the girls are trying to fuck these stars. So that was fun to watch as a bartender, because they're like, Shane, like, what's the deal with these girls? Or are they working girls?
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm like, yeah, they're working something.
Yeah. Well, that's quite the story.
Yeah.
So I need to clarify this first. You are a bachelor, right?
In what sense of the word?
Would you say that you're a single guy, or?
I am a single guy.
Okay. So what's life like? Like, what's the toughest thing about being a bachelor? What's the best thing about being a bachelor?
I think they're both one and the same thing, and that you're only accountable to yourself. There's good and bad things that come with that. I think the bad things that come with that, and it was, I noticed this about my last relationship, is that like it's really good to be accountable to someone, because you know, it keeps you kind of honest, and it keeps you hardworking, and keeps you down to earth, and it keeps you from getting like a big head. And so that was a really great thing about my last relationship. But at the same time, like when I'm so focused on my career right now, not being accountable to anyone else other than myself is a huge relief, because I can just do what I need to do to succeed, and I don't need to worry about incorporating someone else in that. So it's good career-wise, but like, yeah, it does get lonely, and it's, you know, sometimes, especially living with a couple,
yeah,
that's tough sometimes, where you're like, oh my, fuck off with your relationship.
Yeah.
But really that's coming from a place of like, I also want that, right? And you know, just haven't found the person that kind of fits into the lifestyle that I'm living right now, and that, you know, makes me feel the way I, you know, would hope someone would make me feel. I think like too, I'm also not out there like looking for someone, because I think that's really important. Like I read recently, and I'm contemplating it, I don't know if I fully agree with it, but it seems like the most valuable things in life come to us when we're not looking for them. They come to us as a result of us pursuing the things that we want to pursue, the meaningful and productive and powerful things in life that really like ignite our passion in life. So when someone else sees you chasing that dream, they just gravitate towards you because of the energy of you doing what you want to do. Therefore, if you spend all your time trying to find a girlfriend or a wife, it's kind of like this person just comes off as desperate, and that's all they want. It's like you have to want and strive for more in life, and then someone will just kind of just get drawn in magnetically to that way of life. So that's how I look at it.
I completely agree.
Just haven't found that person yet, or she hasn't found me.
No, like they're out there. They're just trying to figure out where local is. Are you doing lots of shifts at local still, or taking it easy?
I've been off for a month and a bit.
I noticed. But seen you at Central a lot.
But leading up to that, I put my manager through hell, Harley. You sweetheart, you. I put her through hell with all these shift changes and canceling of shifts, just because I was so crazy busy with the shooting of our films. And so I had to tell her. We got to a point, it was funny because I brought her flowers one day, and I said, look, this is to apologize. You've just been so good to me. And so I gave her the flowers, and she's like, oh, like, you know, it's all right. Like, I just want you to succeed and be happy. I want to like make life easy for you. And I was like, and by the way, I also can't work tomorrow. And so as I handed her these flowers, like we're behind the bar, and there's some like softer music playing, like almost sad music. And I'm like, look, maybe we should just take some time, and maybe you should just not schedule me for until November perhaps, and until I get back from Australia. And she goes, it feels like we're breaking up right now. I go, I know, I don't like it, but I'm sorry, we just need some space. So anyway, she was so great. And when I get back from my trip, then I'll get back behind the bar for a few shifts a week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll have to go into your watering hole at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
I find myself like it's always just work. I never actually partake in anything in the bar. Like
Yeah.
full disclosure, I think I've been to Central like once, and it was for a Yeg Fitness function.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And other than that,
Didn't you
I
spill
just
a
go
beer
there.
on me?
I did not spill
No,
beer.
Rob spilled the beer on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
That was funny.
I am not one to spill beer.
Yeah, that's true. You like it too much.
Yeah, I like it
Yeah.
too much.
Well, we've got 20 taps. We've got 13 always pouring and 7 rotationals featuring Western Canadian brewers of the highest quality.
They better sponsor this thing.
Local? I think they've done enough for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, they have. What is the most monumental thing that has ever happened to you while on a trip, either personal or for business?
Well, on a trip, I think every time you take a trip, it just gives you perspective. It shows you how big the world is, and like to see a completely different country that literally none of the shit you're doing in life matters to anyone there. It's humbling. It gives you perspective on like, man, my problems aren't really that big, and like it's up to me. Simultaneously, it gives you accountability because you're like, no one's gonna help me solve my problems because nobody cares. So I better just get my life in order, and I better do it myself. I think work trip wise, the most monumental thing is having an opportunity, like getting to travel for work and getting to have that chance to do a good job, because sometimes it feels stressful, and sometimes you get so wrapped up in like not screwing up that you forget to think, oh, what if I succeed though? And like, how cool would that be? And like, what kind of an impression am I making on people? And then to have people recognize that you've done a good job after is pretty neat, because you've been stressing about it and you want it to go so perfectly, and you want everything to go just according to plan. So I think for me, like impact wise is just simply having that opportunity.
Just spinning it from I have to do this to I get to do this. Kind of
Exactly.
thing. Like there's so much more to life than feeling burdened, when you could just feel sort of, I don't want to use the word, but blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Blessed. Hashtag blessed.
We get so many opportunities that we take for granted that we need to capitalize on it. We're going to take this to the final finisher. If you could give our listeners one piece of advice on how to live their most authentic and fulfilling life, what would that piece of advice be?
I have 2 things. The first is something I said earlier, and I just think it's so powerful, and it's kind of part A and part B is eliminate "it's not my fault" from your dictionary. Nobody likes someone who makes excuses and says why this didn't work out or that didn't work out, and people like someone that's just going to, and it's going to get you farther in life if you just be accountable and own up to shit. And it's like, yeah, I screwed that up, or even if it's not directly your fault, maybe I could have done a better job. So I think that is super powerful. Now I have 3 things. I'm gonna take 3. The second one is trying to always keep in mind that everyone has their own shit going on in their life, and to not take things personally. Like, I just experienced this with the film, like people I thought would come who didn't, people who I didn't think would come who did, and just trying to eliminate that like taking it personally, because people have shit going on in their lives. It's like, my thing is not as important to someone else as it is to me, so why should I have that expectation of like them dropping the important things in their life to come? So for me, that, knowing, and also like that just applies to like everyday shit, like, oh, that guy wasn't very friendly, or that guy kind of like cut me off, or maybe they're having a bad day, maybe someone just died in their family, or they just got fired, or they're a recovering addict, or it could be anything. So like, it's hard for us to keep that in mind, because there's so many possibilities that you just think like, why aren't they being better? And the third thing is, I think people should just try and strive to tell the truth all the time. That's something that I took from Jordan Peterson's book, and I've really been making an effort to even eliminate the little white lies, because I think even the small ones can build walls between you and other people, and they warp reality, and they shift it towards chaos. And I think like, it's so much easier to tell the truth. I mean, it's harder to tell the truth, but it gives your life an easier go of it, because then you're no longer worrying about what I said and didn't say. You just remember your truth is your story, and you don't have to like hold all these lies and connections in your head. And especially don't lie at all. But like I've seen people lie to other people in front of me that they know that I know the truth, and it makes me respect them less. And it's like, I don't want to, but it's like, and it makes you question them too. Like, how do I know that you're telling me the truth? I just saw you straight up bold-faced lie to someone else. So, I don't know. Tell the truth, take accountability, and be empathetic.
I agree. Those are
things.
good. Those are rock solid.
All right.
Well, thanks for being the guest for episode 8. It's been an honor.
Hey, man. No, it's been all my honor. Thank you for having me.
Perfect.